What's up, y'all? I've been meaning to do this video for a while, but Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War just finished. Well, not just finished, finished a couple weeks ago. But I watched the whole, first half or first part. There's gonna be, I think, 4 parts total. But I read the manga like years ago when the manga ended, which was a sad, sad moment because all right, before I even start this video, so spoilers, if you haven't watched it or read it, like you shouldn't be listening to this video. But Bleach, man, Bleach. I was hooked on it from when it was back on Toonami, when I was in college, if I'm not mistaken. It ended when the manga ended, it felt like it was rushed, but I felt like the anime, even though the last arc with the Genjo, can't think of the name of it right now, but when Ichigo got his powers back, actually I didn't think that was a bad arc. It kind of dragged a little bit, but Ichigo got his powers back, so that's kind of that it was worth the wait then. But waiting all these years after the manga ended, and the manga ended just abruptly, it was like, oh, randomly, like 3 more weeks, Bleach is done. So I hope in the anime they're gonna give it a more well written, non-rushed ending. But so far, part one of Thousand Year Blood War has been phenomenal. Animation top tier. Felt like I'm watching. I don't know. Felt like I was watching Demon Slayer. As far as the animation quality goes, which is you wait a long time for the anime to the final art to finally get animated, and it's well worth the wait. So with that being said, I wanted to do a top 10 list of the moments that I thought that stood out for me, not necessarily in the anime, but I did reread the manga in preparation for this video. That's why I waited a couple weeks after the anime was done for part one. I wanted to kind of re-experience like my top moments in the manga, reading it weekly, that kind of just like popped out at me. So there might be better moments for you, but these are the top 10 moments that kind of got me. All right, so number 10 is the stealing of the bankais. So we get a idea that this was going to be something that they were going to be trying. When Ichigo fought the first guy, the Arankar that they kind of like forced into submission, the Stern Ritters, he tried to actually steal Ichigo's bankai, but he couldn't because honestly, spoiler alert, Ichigo's bankai isn't really complete necessarily. So he wasn't able to steal it or technically handle it because, you got to have a certain power level to handle it too. But the moment that we get 4 different captains, Soifon, Byakuya, Hitsugaya, Komamura, yeah. We get their bankai stole. You're like, fuck. Like even Hitsugaya, once he gets his stole, he just kind of just falls to his knees. It's just nuts. So that's actually, number 10 for me, just because I'm like, okay, it's like not having your trump card in battle against some of the most powerful enemies that they've actually faced. And the enemies that they were facing during that time after they got their Bankai stole, they wasn't actually going even full power. Because, Quincy's kind of have like the second release, the Vo standing. And they actually wasn't really, getting into their bag. But top 10, number 1, Heart Drops. There you go. All right, number 9. Now, I've been waiting for this moment all series. So, the head captain's Bankai. We've only just seen his, Shikai when he was fighting against Aizen. We saw a Shikai in a couple movies and whatnot. But, we always want to know what people Bankais are. Want to know what his is. We want to know what Shuhei is, the guy with the scythes, the dual wield scythes. So we always want to know, everybody's Bankai, everybody's second release, because Kubo, the manga author of Bleach, I don't know, there's a way he always just surprises people with how customized, how specific to the character each release is, and this is just kind of one of the things that I don't know. That's one of the things I like about shonen in general. Everybody has their own bankai. Everybody, like, say for instance, Hunter x Hunter has their own, like, specific, special, their own power. It's just something that's cool to me. So we finally see his bankai. Now he has four different forms: north, south, east, west. The one that impressed me the most is when he first releases it. The sword looks basically burned, like a rusty sword, scorched sword, but all of the energy of his flames is basically on the tip. So as soon as the tip touches something, it just basically obliterates everything in sight. Now the other versions, of it is cool. You got the flame armor where, you can't really get close to him. He brings your fallen comrades back from the dead, so you got to fight them. Then he has, like, the finisher. But just the one that got me excited the most is when he condenses all his flames to a sword, moves it to the tip, and then just anything that gets touched with the tip kind of gets obliterated. It's pretty darn awesome. It's something I'm I hate to say, but I am glad they waited, because I don't know if we would have gotten this level of animation if it would have went through the last arc, years and years ago. Felt like, has it been 10 years? Maybe not that long, but number 9, y'all, number 9. Number 8. This one hurt my heart for two times in a row. All right, so the head captain, he did. He died. Yuha, the real Yuha, sliced him in half. So when he went Bankai, he was fighting, and he murdered the Yuha that we thought was the right Yuha, which obviously, you're only 4, 5, 6 episodes into the first part of the series. Like, when you're reading it, you're like in it, you gotta wait a whole another week. I know when you're watching it, you gotta wait a whole another week, but just the fact that you thought, like, okay, he killed the big bad, obviously something's not right. But no, Yuha's been talking to freaking Aizen the whole time in the jail. And he's like, nah, this was just my subordinate. You were actually, having, I don't want to say difficulty, but, like, it wasn't even me. Like, and then you exhausted all your energy. He got his Bankai stole because only Yuha could handle the amount of power that his Bankai is. And at that point, you're like, oh, he's fucked. He's exhausted. He just got his Bankai stole. Yuha's full, full stamina, full health. And then he just gets fucking sliced in fucking half. Like, that happened. And you're like, your heart breaks. Your heart breaks. But that wasn't even the worst part about it. He then proceeds to basically arrow, and just obliterate the head captain's body to, like, no trace. Like, I don't even think I included this in the video that's kind of looping, but my God, that was rough to watch. But hey, rest in peace, head captain. You a real G. All right, number 7. So Byakuya, he gets his Bankai stolen, and he just gets his tail beat. Now, spoilers, it's not the death of him. He didn't die. He almost died. But just having him plead, I don't even say plead, but just, if you watched it from the beginning of the series up until now, you know that he has, like, respect for Ichigo. Not because he needs Ichigo to come in and save him, but he's just like, hey, I know what kind of man you are. Like, please, please save, Soul Society. Like, and he didn't say much. He was just like, hey, Renji, Rukia, look out for him because he's about to die. And it's just so we know that Byakuya cares for Renji and Rukia. He's just like he's like Vegeta. I don't say he's like Vegeta, but like, you got the hard exterior, but deep down you're like, he knows he fucking cares for people. But that being his like last breath, and Ichigo not saying a word to him, and Ichigo just rushing off the battle after he like, amps up his spiritual pressure. It's just it hit hard. Like, I think this scene, I think the anime did it better than the manga. But yeah, man, kind of hit a little different. All right. Number 6. Ichigo versus Yuha, the real Yuha. This dude went crazy. So obviously Ichigo's doing a better job than head captain, just, battling Yuha. It's a quick battle too. Like, it does not last long. But Ichigo's basically kind of exhausted from trying to break out of that Quincy cage. But in this scene, we kind of realize, like, oh shit, Ichigo actually got some Quincy powers. It's very quick. It's very quick. But that blue vein, where you see his veins turn blue and it hardens his skin or whatever when Yuha was going in for the kill. But the part of this that kind of just, it was nuts, is that number one, Ichigo got, kind of dogged here. Number two, you find out Ichigo's, got some Quincy powers, and you're like, what? Why? Because we always, throughout the whole series, we knew from like the first, before he took the trip to Soul Society, when he first reclaimed his Soul Reaper powers, like actually his own, when he first learned Zangetsu's name, he always had that hollow mask on top of his head. So we were like, okay, we know we got some hollow in him. He's a Shinigami. Like, yeah, of course. His dad used to be a Soul Reaper, but we never like figured out why. Because his dad never showed anything until later on. Really showed it during like the whole Aizen fake Karakura Town arc. But we see the Quincy, and then right as Yuha he leaves. He's like, my son born in darkness. And we know that Yuha is the king of the Quincy's. So we're like, wow, is he part Quincy too? What doesn't this guy have? So it was just animation great. The reveal great. The fact that we get the explanation, like the reason why he awakened his Quincy powers is because when he was locked in that Quincy cage, he was releasing like a whole bunch of spiritual pressure, and the Quincy energy kind of got absorbed in his core, in his body, and that was just a miscalculation on Yuha's part, because if he did that, that wouldn't have been that cage is only for people who are not Quincy's. Any Quincy could get out of that cage, but since he had dormant Quincy powers, he had to kind of work and let the Quincy powers get absorbed, and that's how he eventually broke out. Because in the manga, it was a confusing part. I don't think it was exactly explained that specific, but yeah, man, just this whole fight was just incredible. So number 6, Ichigo versus Yuha. All right, so number 5. I'm not even sure if I should say it, but we get a reveal of somebody that we haven't seen in a while. One of my favorite villains, or should I say antagonists, or whatever. All right, I'm gonna say it. So spoilers, you already know I said that at the beginning of the video, but the Grimmjow reveal is more of a comedic thing than anything. But when this happened in the manga, there was just like there was months where I'm like, who is that? And like, I wanted it to be Grimmjow, but I'm just like, who else? Who else could it be? Who else could like rattle Ichigo to where like, and who else would be looking for Ichigo while they're in Wako Mundo? And Yeah, it was just funny, man. Grimjow back for the win, and he'll have a little moment later. I wish he would have got more later on in the arc. I wish he would have got more screen time in the manga, which they might fix in the anime. But Grimjow for the win, best. I don't know, man. That Panther form, that I'll never get over that resurrection form. His Panther, that it was just so dope. But Grimjow for the win, dog. Alrighty, number 4, Unohana. We find out her origins. So she was a Kenpachi. Now, her Bankai is kind of confusing when she fights Kenpachi. So we know her power, her squad, her Shikai is all basically, well, not a Shikai technically, but all her time in the whole Bleach verse has been basically she's the woman that heals people. Um, which kind of makes sense when you find out she's the first Kenpachi, because to get the battle prolonged, she basically heal people, heal herself, heal her opponent. That way they can keep on fighting, which is the opposite of what we found out about Kenpachi, which Card already knew. I mean, the whole eye patch, it gives it away. For him to prolong a fight, he has to weaken himself, and he's been subconsciously getting tongue tied here, weakening himself to actually have a decent fight, because he's so strong. He usually kills most people he fights. So we figure out that him, when he was a kid, he fought Unohana, and he basically beat her, but he realized he was gonna win, and he didn't want to, because he wanted to keep the fight going. He started putting limiters on himself. So basically, this fight is just to have Kenpachi regain his original power without any limits, and be able to enjoy battle and actually, go all out, because he hasn't been going out all out in the series. I mean, another thing. This would be my next, number 3, but just the fact that Kenpachi had to basically limit himself just to enjoy battle was basically his greatest fear. Which, during this fight, he finally was able to release that. And Unohana, this was one thing in the manga that we were hoping that the anime would clear up. Unohana's freaking Bankai. In the manga, we had no clue what it did. Here's what I think it does. I've been trying to fight myself from reading the wiki, because I know the wiki is going to explain it, but I think her power is just more like I don't know, for anybody who's played Elden Ring, it's like the rivers of blood. She basically has blood, and then uses her sword to like Getsuga Tenchos of blood. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, since she's all about healing, I think the wounds she inflicts on the other person, they actually heal her wounds, or vice versa. Like if Kenpachi hits her, it basically heals his wounds. So it's kind of like another extension of battle through healing, but that's kind of how I think her Bankai works. I could be wrong. Maybe I'll read the wiki, but that's kind of what I thought of it. So whoever it's kind of like Shunsui, when basically his Shikai and his Bankai is all about like kids games. So it's like a game. Whoever inflicts the most damage wins. Before the other person can inflict damage on you. Kind of like the whole, if you've seen Hunter x Hunter, Knuckle, you gotta hit Knuckle, you gotta return damage back to Knuckle greater than he gives you damage, or you'll go bust with the APR thing. So I think it's kind of like that. That's my take, but that's number 4. All right, number 3. We almost done with the list, y'all. So number 3, Kenpachi hearing his sword for the first time. Hyped. I felt as much hype watching the anime as I did when I read the manga all those years ago. So Kenpachi beats Unohana, because obviously he was already stronger than her from when he was a kid. So he's pleading with her whatever she dies. But then you hear like a faint voice, or should I say he hears it. And he's already left his sword like standing up in the ground, like behind him. So he's like, "Who's there? Who's talking to me?" And you basically realize it's his sword finally talking to him. And it's like, "Okay, my name is," and it blanks out. Oh God. Kenpachi, the Kenpachi's gonna be real. Think about it, he's that strong. He's fighting all these guys. He's beating their Rancor. He's going toe to toe with Byakuya. He basically, honestly, he could have beat Ichigo in the Soul Society. He just really and truly, He's playing with the dude with the 6 arms. The Espada number what numbers? No, number 5. Yeah, number 5, because I think Grandra was number 6. Number 5. Anyway. Um so you realize like he's been limiting himself just with his power. The sword is just the sword. Look at it, it's all ragged and stuff. But he finally goes 100%, stops holding back, gets back to like his original form. Here's a sword. Golly, just Kenpachi is a monster, man. He's a monster. Anyway, that spot holds is dope. It's dope. And further in the manga, you'll see Kenpachi like his Shikai. You'll see him go into Bankai. Spoilers. Just it's gonna be a fun ride, and I hope they animate it well. They're gonna animate it well. Just with the weight, the whole splitting up into 4 different parts. It's gonna be a rough time waiting, but I think they handled this first part just with class. But Kenpachi here in the Zanpato number 3. Let's go. Number two. So Ichigo's origins. So this is a lot to once you kind of put things together. We already knew Ichigo's dad was a Soul Reaper. That was already done from earlier. We already know he had like part hollow in him. We didn't know why he had part hollow in him because he never went through like a hollification like all the other visits. And then his fight with Yuhai, we find out he got some Quincy origin. So we knew about his dad. We knew very little about his mom other than Grand Fisher killing her when he was little. And then we find out, and she's a badass too. There's just I'm skipping ahead. I'm all over the place. So we find out his mom is a Quincy, Masaki. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. So his dad comes to Kurikawa town, figuring out, hey, there's some disturbances with Hollow going around killing Shinigami. So he battles with Hollow a little bit, but Quincy's, they don't step in until all the Soul Reapers are dead, and then they take care of the Hollow, because they've been beefing. There's a whole thing, but basically she steps out. She's trying to help battle the Hollow, and Aizen obviously up to some shady shit, and that's the reason why Aizen had his eye on Ichigo, because she saves Ishin by basically baiting herself for the Hollow to basically take a chunk out of her, and then she basically just blows his head off basically. But by that time, Aizen had a whole holification thing where he was like touring around, figuring stuff out, doing some research, and the Hollow blows up, in front of Masaki. So she basically becomes a Quincy who has a hollowification going on. So since Hollows and I'm sorry. Since Hollows and Soul Reapers are basically opposites of each other, Ishin has to link himself spiritually, spiritual pressure, to the mom, Masaki, to basically keep the Hollow at bay. So she doesn't go through the hollification. So they're basically spirit linked or whatever. So obviously when that happens, they kind of grow fond of each other, blah, 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 blah. But basically to stop her hollification as a Quincy, she had to be tied to a Soul Reaper. So basically all 3 points right there. and then Ichigo's born, and that's why Aizen's like keeping an eye on him, stuff like that. That gets revealed before Ichigo beats the brakes off Aizen. It all makes sense. It all comes full circle. But yeah, she was badass for Quincy, man. I tell you. And I know she was supposed to marry Ishida's Uriel's dad to keep the Quincy bloodline, basically pure. But yeah, Ichigo's a monster, and I see why. And I was about to spoil the last point, but number two, that's it. Here goes number one. Number one. All right, Ichigo dual wielding. You got two swords. Can't tell him nothing. Now, I don't know if y'all watch a lot of anime, but dual wielding is actually one of my favorite things. So you got freaking Sword Art Online, Kirito dual wielding, badass moment. Which Sword Art Online is mid to me. You got freaking Shunsui, you got Ukitake, you got freaking Shuhei with the dual wielding scythes. Just anybody who dual wields. I even in Elden Ring, I even did a dual wield with my Moonveil katanas. You got Rivers of Blood. Anyway, I'm going off topic here. But Ichigo having the Quincy knife and the hollow Shinigami sword. So basically, he finds out his origins, flashback jutsu, whatever is his dad's telling him. So he goes back to get a new a reforge of his Zangetsu, and basically he's talking to Zangetsu. We find out that, and this was a, I'm sorry, this was a big reveal when I read the manga because it never hit me, it never clicked. But basically, if you notice, Yu Habak, the king of the Quincy's, looks just like Zangetsu. Zangetsu just has glasses. He's like a younger version of him. So that blew my mind when I was reading the manga. I was like, shit, are you for real? So we find out that Ichigo's Shinigami and Hollow powers was being restrained because the Quincy part of him didn't want him to become a Shinigami. But basically, the Hollow and the Shinigami, they were a part of it. That was the white Ichigo, the white version of him. But then we have Yuha Bak. He's the Quincy part of him. And he's like, he finally gives him like, hey man, you gonna get all these powers. Like you've been fighting, you've been OP in the verse. But this ain't in your full power. This ain't in your final form, bruh. So basically, he tells that to him. Ichigo, while he's getting the sword forged, and we think he's gonna pull out one sword. Nah, he pulls out two of them motherfuckers. So he got the shorter one, which is the Quincy knife, and then he has the larger one, which we're kind of used to, and that's his Shinigami and Hollow powers. But it's just, man, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see him fight, man. And apparently, they're gonna be giving us. It was confirmed about a week ago. They're gonna give us a fight that they cut out before of the manga. It was kind of like off screen that they're gonna be animating from scratch. So I don't know what it is. Maybe that's like Ichigo sparring with Renji, or Ichigo sparring with the bald headed guy with the beard, Ichibei, I think his name is, of the Zero Squad. But man, I am ready for Bleach to come back. What is it, June or July? It's gonna be one of those months where the second part of the Thousand Year Blood War is gonna be. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. This is probably one of the longest videos I've got on my channel right now, but it's just I've waited long enough to talk about Bleach. I've been wanting to do it for a while. But here you go. Enjoy, like, subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Peace.